Dads, when did you look at your son and think, that's my boy? My 12-year-old son Thomas never cared much for sports like I did. Instead, he spent hours in our garage tinkering with electronics and building robots from scraps. At first, I was disappointed, secretly hoping he'd follow in my football footsteps. But everything changed the day his science teacher, Mrs. Abbott, crossed a line. It started when Thomas came home frustrated from school. Mrs. Abbott had been teaching about electricity, claiming computers worked by having tiny people inside doing calculations. When Thomas tried correcting her, showing the class a real circuit board, she sent him to detention for being a smart mouth. I was annoyed but told Thomas to just play along. Then she started failing him on tests for using complicated words like semiconductor and transistor, saying he must be cheating. She even told the class that robots weren't real, just movie special effects. The breaking point came during the science fair. Thomas spent months building a basic AI that could solve math problems. He used parts from old phones and laptops, staying up late watching tutorials. The night before, he tested it one final time. It worked perfectly. But at the fair, Mrs. Abbott took one look and unplugged his project, claiming it was clearly fake and probably just a recorded video. And Thomas tried explaining the code he'd written, she cut him off. Computers don't think, she snapped. Stop lying to your classmates. Thomas was crushed. His project was disqualified and Mrs. Abbott gave the win to a baking soda volcano. That evening, I found him in the garage, tearfully dismantling his robot. Maybe she's right, he mumbled. Maybe I'm just stupid. Something in me snapped. My boy wasn't stupid. He was brilliant. The next morning, I called in sick to work and drove to his school. But instead of going to the office, I went straight to the classroom where Mrs. Abbott was teaching. Excuse me, I interrupted. I brought some guests who'd like to talk about computers. Behind me walked in 3 of my old college buddies, a software engineer from Google, a robotics expert from Boston Dynamics, and an AI researcher from MIT. Stayed up all night calling in favors. Mrs. Abbott's face went pale. For the next hour, my friends demonstrated real robots, explained actual computer science, and showed videos of their work. The kids were mesmerized. When they brought out a $75,000 robotic dog that could dance and do backflips, even Mrs. Abbott couldn't deny robots were real. Thomas's eyes were huge as the experts examined his AI project. Google engineer actually whistled, impressed by his code. This is university-level work, he said. Most adults couldn't build this. The principal arrived mid-demonstration, drawn by the excitement. When she learned, Mrs. Abbott had failed Thomas for made-up technical terms that were actually correct, her expression hardened, especially after the MIT professor confirmed Thomas had been right all along. But the best moment came when my friend from Boston Dynamics offered Thomas a paid internship next summer, the youngest they'd ever had. Need minds like yours, he said. Mrs. Abbott looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. That afternoon, the school board called an emergency meeting. Mrs. Abbott was suspended pending review, and the science curriculum was completely overhauled. Thomas' AI project was reinstated and went on to win the state science fair. Now my garage is officially a robotics lab. Thomas teaches coding to other kids after school, and that robotic dog company sends him new parts to test. Last week, he showed me his latest creation, a small robot that plays chess. As I watched him explain the complex programming to his little sister, my chest swelled with pride. The other dads still talk about their kids' touchdown passes. Me, I brag about my son, the robotics genius who proved his teacher wrong.